Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast, where our purpose is to help create a better future. Learn from our world's experts how to improve your organisation sustainably. Learn how to achieve and sustain an excellence journey for yourself, others, and the planet.
I'm your host, Brad Jevons, coming to you from Brisbane, Australia.
Welcome to episode 24 of the Enterprise Excellence Podcast. I'm so pleased to have on the show today Sue Holtz. Sue is the Principal Analyst and Director of Research by Design. Sue is a specialist in customer research, both qualitative and quantitative. Sue has 20 years' experience helping organisations understand customers deeply, helping them to focus their strategic and continuous improvement efforts. Let's get into the episode. Sue, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Brad.
Sue, do you mind sharing your backstory? Like, what got you involved in customer research?
Well, dare I say, it was about 30 years ago. I was one of many. There was a cast of thousands almost at Diners Club, and I was one of the marketing managers. Anyway, one of the people that were in charge of the card holders commissioned some research, and I attended the meeting where the research agency presented their findings, and it was almost like an epiphany. I'm sitting there thinking, this is always where I wanted to be. Marketing to me is the easy bit. It's the cherry on the top. It's the icing on the cake. Before you can get it right, and dare I say, a lot of people actually get it wrong, you really have to understand the customer. And it's that market research that is incredibly interesting. It's essential, it's valuable, it's interesting, it's all of those things. And so 30 years ago, the light bulb went on. And about the same time, we moved to Hong Kong. And I ended up doing my master's in international business as part of that journey, and then wrote the very first Euromonitor report for the snack food industry in Southeast Asia. Went on to do quite a lot of research for companies looking to expand into Southeast Asia, and it just snowballed from there. So really problem solving, really interesting, dynamic business issues. Yeah. So that's basically it.
I can hear your passion for it. But what was it, Sue, that has inspired you to keep working in the field for that, 20, 30 years?
It's always different. It's almost like I'm writing a new project every day, so you don't get bored. So at the moment, we've got 3 really exciting projects on the desk, and they're always a little bit different. I mean, there's some fundamentals that are always the same. The methodologies are tried and proven, but the questions you ask, the outcomes that you find, the way you present the data, the impacts of that data is always different. So, and there's just so much to learn. It's incredible. It's never ending. There's always something new.
After 20 to 30 years of this, so your understanding of customer psychology would be amazing.
Well, it never ceases to amaze me, shall we say?
Nice.
And it's changed over time as well, as you can well imagine. So keeping up with it is no small feat. It's interesting and dynamic in its own right.
So why is it important? Why is it so important for an organisation to understand their customers who they currently have and who they could have so deeply?
Because it's easy to get it wrong. I mean, people sitting behind the desk going, yes, I really get my customers, isn't that fantastic? And I know what they want. But they see that through rose-tinted glasses, and they really do have, I think myopic's probably a little bit strong view, but they really do have not the broad brush view that they need to understand what's really going on with their customers. And understanding those touch points and what's important is really, really essential to getting it right. And the guts of it is, it's easy to get it wrong. It's actually hard to get it right. And getting those customer insights and having those conversations will give you that information. So that's really the essence of it.
Wow. So it's really, without it, you're sort of heading in the dark, or you could have assumptions that are not actually correct.
Well, I think just by way of an example, and this is going back many years ago, 2 examples actually, and shows my age, but I was working with Westpac, and this is going back several decades, and I was working at the Manly branch, and they rolled in the tech team and said, oh, you're the trial branch for ATM tellers, and this is where we'll trial it. And the inference was, oh, look, we think we have to trial it, and we really need to, but we're pretty sure it's not going to work. So I think that
Wow.
really captures beautifully the importance of some customer research. I think there are now 3 tellers at the Manly Westpac branch, but really spending the time to get it right is an understatement. ANZ, another big corporate example, went, we're shutting all our regional branches. It's that they're no longer profitable for us. Shut down a significant number of their branches and figured out that was actually not appropriate and have had to go back and reopen quite a
Wow.
number.
So without good customer research, you can blow a lot of money or miss a lot of innovation and improvement opportunity.
Absolutely. And the flip side of that is too that you can come up with the world's greatest idea and go, yes, we're rolling out to market. If you don't do that research and that you're thinking you've got the world's greatest idea, and they're going, no, actually we don't like it, or there's 5 others out on the market that's already there, or whatever it is. So it works either way, works both ways.
Yeah, it's great. Hey, Sue, over your career and all the learnings, what have been the key points that you've taken away in relation to doing customer research well?
It's all about asking intelligent questions. So many surveys I see are just endless, asking poorly structured questions many different ways and asking needless questions. And the upshot of that is now what we're facing is survey fatigue or research fatigue because it has been done so poorly. At the end of the day, short, sharp, intelligent questions, deep and meaningful insights, but then it's about joining the dots. It's about linking one pot of information to another pot of information. It's not about these endless surveys because that's what we've got to do. It's about being clever, intelligent questions.
Okay, so it comes all back to the questions you ask and being short and sharp, but allowing you then to connect the dots and find the insights within them. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. Yep.
Well, and I've seen a survey and some work that you've done, Sue, and I really see the way that you connect the dots and the way you lay it out to create knowledge out of that information too. It's very impressive.
Thank you. And I think too, and that comes back to a couple of things. I mean, the quality of the team that we work with is very important. Getting the instruments right, getting the methodology right. But one of the things that it works in our favour too is the experience across many different industries. It's the experience across many different projects that you see information from, even 10 years ago that is in some way relevant to what you're doing. It's incredible how that pot of knowledge across many dynamic sectors actually adds up to helping with that analysis, with the depth of analysis. Yeah.
So with customer research, are there any typical approaches that you're finding best practice now, whether that be some qualitative approaches or some quantitative approaches? Is there any insights and information you can provide there?
Yes. You really need to match the methodology that you're using with your target group. So there's actually no clear-cut answer to that, and I think that's actually the essence of market research and getting it right. It's different for every project. And for instance, we have a tender, and I'm bound by commercial and confidence, of course, but we've got a tender out at the moment, which is a number of different methodologies that speak specifically to one part, which is form design and online completion. And then another part of that is intercept interviews. So speaking to people face-to-face and asking them questions while they're actually in the field. And then we've got another project at the moment. A component of that is focus groups. Focus groups, dare I say it, are done to death. They really are more of a brainstorming function, and they should be utilised more in that way, and can be very, very important process in helping you design an online survey, which is in fact how that's being structured. So it's really, there's no single answer, no easy answer to that. It's understanding the project, it's understanding what information you need and how much of that information you need. And so it's really sitting down at the front end with an inception meeting and brainstorming the best approach. And we're finding these days, unfortunately, online surveys are getting more tricky, and that's a survey fatigue issue, which is just because they've been done poorly for so long. but generally people love to have a phone conversation. We find telephone interviews very effective, focus groups in the right setting very effective, and yes, mass online surveys where appropriate, that they also work as well, but down to the quality of the design.
And it sounds like to me, Sue, that some of the traditional approaches are coming back, where everything swung to quantitative online, but it sounds from what you're saying that some of the qualitative person-to-person style approaches are coming back and becoming stronger again.
Yes, and I think there's a couple of things for that. The qualitative is the insights. That's where quantitative is, and I always use just going back a step, always use the example of, giving a blood sample. It gives, the state of health or the state of the nation at the point you do that survey. So it's very much a quant. It's how it is at that moment when it's done. Whereas a qualitative gives you the breadth of what it has been, what it is, and what it could be. So you can use that as a problem-solving function as well. But it gives you the outliers that just no one thinks about that you can delve into more deeply. And so that qualitative approach is really important. We use it where we can as to assist us to do some qualitative work if we're needing to go to a quant to verify results in a statistical way. So, you've got to verify it by numbers. But using a qualitative approach to design that survey works especially well. So when we're not just asking questions that we think are the right questions to ask, we are actually making sure we are asking the right questions as per the information gleaned from the qualitative work.
Wow. So the qualitative more often than not can inform some quantitative work you do to confirm findings or to get the current status.
And in the SMEs in particular, you don't need to go to quant. You just don't need that verifiable. You don't need to verify your data in a statistical way. But what they don't realise, and it's actually part of our mission, would you believe, is to convince the SMEs the importance of and research and how easy it is you don't need big numbers in your qualitative research. Yeah, wow. You just don't need 30 and 40 interviews. You can actually do 12 to 15. And that will give you incredible amount of important information on which you can base good quality decisions.
Wow. So the right questions to the right qualitative face-to-face telephone type of path can give you the insights you need from a small group.
Totally. Absolutely. And we've actually got a white paper to that effect, when enough is enough, because we are regularly challenged on sample size cohorts, and it's encouraging the client to understand that 10 to 12 interviews is okay, and anything, even if we go up to 15, but if I'm interviewing anything after 15, 20, the results don't materially change. They have no impact on the outcomes of the research that we're actually analysing. It makes no difference.
Wow.
Makes no difference.
That's insightful. So what stops organisations taking the time to actually do market research and understand their customers more deeply?
That is a very good question, and we are still working on that. There's a couple of things. I think they don't realise just how easy it is, but that goes to the heart of someone that loves it and really enjoys it. But it goes to, I think it goes to the heart, they just don't know. And it's one of those processes that once you understand, you just go, yeah, why haven't we done it? It's fine. We, in fact, have a publication on our website which is just setting out the 10 easy steps. This is what you need to do. But to me, it's just we don't know what we don't know. And so that's really about letting as many people know about market research is doable. Your cohort sizes are not huge. We can set you up so you can do it yourself. If you're a little bit uncomfortable about that, then, by all means, get a consultancy to do it for you. But it's easy, and they hesitate because they just don't know.
So the thing that really baffles me, so is you can imagine the wasted energy you've got if you're tearing off down a path that's completely wrong, or the potential risk to your company if you're making assumptions. And then, like you've explained to us today, to get a deep understanding and insights, it's not difficult. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's quite easy.
Can I give you one quick example? And this was done many years ago. We get about 1 or 2 projects a year where the information is very clear. Do not proceed. We get one, about 1 or 2 a year. We had one a few years ago where a US company decided that they wanted a distributor in Australia to distribute this very particular technology. It was actually a water processing facility, wastewater processing facility. So there was a company that bought the distribution rights in Australia, and they went, wow, great, we've spent a lot of money buying the distribution rights. Let's go out and we do demand analysis. So they've requested us to do a demand analysis, and the water filtration facilities that they'd purchased process the water, and we had a chemical engineer do some of the work with us. And this is another thing, you need technical expertise at times to make sure you're asking the right questions. It turned out that the water filtration facility was processing water at 6 times the level that was required by the EPA, and I think the cost of that was something like 30 times what was currently available. So the demand analysis was zero. There was no company in Australia that would buy, and it was a retrofit, that would buy these facilities. So someone's gone off and bought, wow, this is great. Zero market research, zero. And We've gone back. There is no demand. And, someone spent a lot of money. And we had another one fairly recently, a commercial company looking to go into residential particular market. Research was 100%, do not proceed. What did they do? Didn't like our outcome. Our research findings, went out, tried, failed.
Wow.
So listen to that.
Yeah.
If no is a good outcome.
Yeah.
People don't like to hear it, but there you go.
So the key is you've got to have the awareness to take the time to do the market research first, or as part of what you just do as part of business.
Yes, and it should be just part of your normal business function. Ask intelligent questions. That's what it gets down to.
That's great. So what advice would you give to someone just looking to get into doing more customer research and trying to understand their customers more deeply?
It's really about thinking very deeply around what issues you need information on. And market research is really around problem solving, and that's what problem are you wanting to solve? And there's many problems in businesses, as you're aware. So think very deeply about what problem you're wanting to solve. Think about what questions relate specifically to that problem. Write out your wish list, halve it, and then structure those questions intelligently. Don't think, we want to solve the world and we've got all these issues that we want to go through, and wouldn't it be nice to know? Because customers pick up pretty quickly that, you're wasting their time. So think very deeply about what problem you're wanting to solve and keep them short and sharp. You should be able to nail it in less than 5 questions if you think about it.
Yeah, that's great advice. And so what have you learnt recently through your role and what you're doing that you didn't know before? What's been a recent insight for you?
That's a curly one. Just trying to think what's just trying to think of the jobs on my desk. I think just generally, but more recently too, is just how profound the implications of market research and how far-reaching they are. And we've just all the work we do is commercial in confidence, so unfortunately I can't give too much detail away. But we've just recently had a project that we handed over that had profound implications on the business development of that business, the business growth strategies and how they would do that. And it's always interesting to see how that works. But I think as we become more mature as a business, because our experience is so deep and so broad, that we've had, in fact, 2 quite recently, that the insights that we presented were then presented to board level, which we often work at board level, and had profound, significant changes within that organisation. And in fact, I've got a framed letter on my sideboard here, just saying what they did. It was exceptional. So people listen. More recently they listen.
That's good.
And make the changes. Yeah.
Well, so even after 20 to 30 years of this work, you're still finding those major moments with customers and major changing outcomes?
Yeah, it's thrilling. It's thrilling. And one of the places that I find really satisfying is very much in that not-for-profit space. But our business has a charter where we contribute in some way to do pro bono work every year. But we do work quite a lot in that pro bono space as well. And especially in the NDIS, you can see just how much work needs to be done. And also in aged care, we've done quite a lot of work in aged care. And you can see the importance of the research that goes back into their decision processes, yeah.
Well,
and the changes they're making. They're major decisions, yes.
Yeah. Well, for this, so I really appreciate all you're doing to help create a better future in that regard. Like, that's the whole purpose of this podcast, and seeing what you're giving back to that space of care is amazing. So how can people reach out to you if they want to get in touch with you or learn more or get hold of some of those white papers that you've published?
Oh, www.researchbydesign.com.au. My phone number's actually on there. And I have to say, I'm happy to have a chat to anyone about research, and quite often I'll have a conversation, give them the tips over the phone, and off they go. So just even if at the very least we help someone to feel comfortable in having a go themselves, that's absolutely fine. And happy to give a few tips, and often do.
Well, Sue, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and sharing your knowledge today.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you.
The key takeaway from this episode was the power of capturing your customer's voice and how simple this is. Customers of an organisation will ultimately determine the success or failure of the venture. Taking the small amount of time it takes to define who your customers are, form up a few open questions, and interview several of them seems time well spent. I've always found the insights organisations gain from this approach to be excellent, in some cases transformative. We spend a lot of time and effort every day overcoming challenges and trying to move our organisations forward. If this effort can be targeted based on our customer's voice, we can achieve a lot more with a lot less effort. Thank you for your time and knowledge, Sue. We really appreciate it. Bye for now.